Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Kendra Gottsleben. How'd I do? Did I
Great.
do good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be
Yeah,
here.
me too. Why don't you just start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
So, like you said, the name is Kendra Gottsleben, and I have a rare disease called, I was broad term, Mucopolysaccharidosis type 6, and then the type 6 name is Martolome. And so I was diagnosed at the age of 4. And when I say my condition is rare, I am one in about 100 individuals in the United States. So there's not many of us, obviously. And so
Mhm.
my journey with life, because of my rare disease, that also puts me in the disability world. And so a lot of the things that I say is I kind of wear two hats as an advocate. I'm a disability advocate, I'm a rare disease advocate, just because that's the journey I've gone on to. But my day job, um, I'm a marketing communications specialist at the Center for Disabilities here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then about 4 years ago in 2021, I started another venture and am the executive director of and founder of Rare by Design. And so, Rare by Design is an organization where we focus on the idea of true representation, inclusion, families of people with disabilities and rare diseases. My focus really was I wanted to also include rare diseases and not just say like disability as a whole,
Sure.
because when you're in the rare disease space, you don't get a lot of that recognition, or you don't hear for rare disease. And so
Mhm.
because I'm in both spaces, I really wanted our work to also say like not just disability but rare disease and disability. And so
Awesome.
that's kind of through my life, just with growing up in the medical world and school and everything. um I say I'm not defined by my condition, but at the same time it has led me in the path that I am on. And uh, sometimes, like many of us, we have struggles and things, but I do feel very fortunate and honored to be part of the rare disease space, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Right.
I wouldn't. There's been a lot of cool things, blessings that has come with the difficult times, like throughout life, but I wouldn't have started a nonprofit. Just some of those
Yeah,
things.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, when you say the words rare disease, I mean, is there like a definition of that, or what does that encompass?
Yes. So the rare disease, to classify as a rare disease, it has to be under a certain number, and I should know that, but I think it has to be under, or it has to be not under, but like a condition has to be under. Sorry. I,
Like a small number of people have it. I mean, there's probably like a
yeah, I don't
definition,
know
but
I
yeah, yeah,
should, but I don't know
that's
the
okay.
actual, because there's like rare, ultra rare,
Okay,
and then that's even smaller.
right.
But then there's rare disease, in general, where the statistic is partially with like, there's a large undiagnosed population
Sure.
too, because finding medical treatments and trying to figure out what those things are, but like there's about 7,000 rare diseases
Okay.
that don't have a treatment or don't have even a diagnosis,
Sure.
uh, to label it or things
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, and so like my condition, we say one in like simpler so it's understandable, but like 100, though it would say for MPS 6 it's 1 in 250,000 to 200 or to 1 in 300,000 United States, and then
Yep.
there's
Yep.
globally, 1 in 5 people have a rare disease and stuff.
Sure.
So,
Do you remember hearing from like your mom how many when you were diagnosed, how many people they had that your disease at that time?
so I was 4 when I was
Okay.
diagnosed, and so obviously being 4, I didn't
Yeah, yeah.
really know. But one of the interesting things is when I was diagnosed, that we like the oldest person at that time that she knew of or that was told to her
Right.
was probably someone in their like 20s.
Okay.
And so one of the things like when I'm talking about cool experiences and things that I've been blessed to be a part of is that in 2002 I was part of a clinical enzyme replacement clinical trial in Oakland, California. And
Right.
so I was 16 at the time. And so with that, now I've been receiving this. Now it's called Naglazyme. When we were in the trial, we didn't didn't know the name or anything.
Right.
Um, but we celebrated in 2025 20 years of it being
Oh,
FDA approved, and so I was part of the second phase of the trial, and so I've been receiving Naglazyme for 20 plus years, and so we're living longer, you
right.
know. And
Yep.
so how to understand what my condition is what we how I explain it to others is I am missing the enzyme that is needed to go into my cells and clean them out. So there's a buildup in those cells which affects my heart, eyes, connective tissue, and other vital organs. So I'm, 39 inches tall, but not all of us with my condition are as short because just like anybody with a disability or anybody
Right.
in society, your body is made different in that
Mhm.
aspect. But we're all missing this, but it might be a greater portion or, kind of stuff like that. And so, but, when I was diagnosed and stuff, I'm 40 now, there wasn't a lot of people um, living,
Right.
as long. Just
Yeah.
because of research, but also there isn't a, for like, some conditions they say the lifespan or whatever is,
Yep.
there really isn't a ending lifespan with this condition. It's more of we have lung issues, we have heart
Mhm.
issues.
Right.
So you put all of that into one person,
Right.
and that causes
Sure.
issues.
Yeah. Sure. Let's switch subjects a little bit. What is your definition of inclusion?
So for me, especially with working with rare by design and the things that we believe in, celebrating the rare that makes us unique and extraordinary is seeing people with disabilities and rare diseases at the tables where and conversations of where decisions are being made,
Yeah. I love that.
helping guide and give their input on how to make an event or something more accessible.
Yeah. I love that. So if that's kind of So that is that why you started Rare by Design? That kind of the getting people with disabilities and rare diseases at the table?
Yes, because and getting them more involved and giving them the confidence of we have a right to be at those tables
Yeah.
and helping community members who aren't maybe always in that disability space, helping them think about, oh, we don't have someone that can voice that opinion or voice their ideas because the reality is, as a person with a disability and rare disease, you have to learn to adapt a lot in life because there's a lot of barriers. And
Right.
so we're creative, we're innovative, and so businesses, organizations, everything can use that talent in a way because if someone isn't in that space, I mean, you can't expect them, if that's not their journey, but they're a real asset to an organization or a company.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, yeah, as you know, I have a daughter with a disability, so I've been on like special education, different committees at school, and then now I'm on the uh, building committee of a theater in town
Okay.
where they're remodeling. It's almost done, but it's going to be accessible. Um, and then they started doing an accessibility committee, and I mean there was nobody on the committee that um, I mean not publicly identified themselves as
Yeah,
having a disability or having a visible disability. So I mean, like you're saying, I was like I can speak to it as a parent of a person with a disability in my experience, but I mean we really need to get people with disabilities here on the committee because they have the lived experience
but
themselves. That's very important.
a parent's perspective on all these committees and things is very important too.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and that's also what we try to do with Rare by Design is a parent's perspective of siblings, giving the
Mm,
whole family unit
right. Yep.
that opportunity because there's a difference also between a parent of an older
Right.
child or
Yep.
even an adult or something versus a parent that has a younger child
For
like
sure.
like equipment, playground equipment. And
Yep.
so that's the other thing is helping them realize parents and other family members also have a great uh,
Right.
voice to share. So
Yeah.
cool that you're on that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, I don't know if you've heard the whole story, but the reason I'm on that committee is my daughter was in choir and the she couldn't get up on stage in her wheelchair, so I had to carry her up onto the stage. So it's taken like well, I think in this coming January will be 12 years, so over 11 years to get to this point, but it's pretty cool now that it will be accessible so people from now on can, if they have a wheelchair, they can get out onto the stage without being carried up there. So I mean, I'm happy it's done, but as a parent in that moment, you wish, it was there for her to do it. But I'm
Exactly.
glad that, it's finally getting fixed and other people can, use that. And, I feel like her story and our story had at least a small piece in that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
How much have you always been included?
Um, I I'm very lucky to say I have been for the most part. I always say that I'm very realistic in the aspects of who I am and sometimes what it takes for me to be involved in things. And so like when I was in high school, there were times where even as my mom like she would say, well why didn't they invite you or this or that and it was like, my friends are really solid. Like I'm usually always invited to things, but I said, "Mom, sometimes it's just not going to be feasible for them to like swing by and uh, not have me there." And I mean, it was tough, but at the same time I had that realistic perspective and was like, you know, they're teenagers. It's like
Right.
trying to troubleshoot, does the chair get in there and all of
Yep.
that. That I was also kind of like, it doesn't mean they don't want me there. It doesn't mean they don't like me. It's just I'm also realistic in that I can't go to everything, and that's just kind of the way it is. And I just laugh because, my mom was definitely wasn't like that. It was like, you have to be prepared for the world. You're not always going to be included and stuff. But as a parent, even though you know that, you still see that, and then you feel bad. But that's kind of the attitude that I've always had. Is that and that was teenager too. But I feel
Right.
like now that as you get older, you grow in your confidence and you grow in what you know and
Right.
all that stuff. And so I feel like as I've gotten older, I've felt included, but it's a different way.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I've created spaces to be included, or I've
Yeah.
brought it up in those aspects.
Yeah. And that's very interesting. But my podcast episode 129 that just released, I think on Tuesday, with Kathy O'Connell, that's the quote that when she talked about what her definition was of inclusion was about creating spaces for her, inclusive spaces for herself. So it's like she talks about that, how, like, that that we should create our own inclusive spaces, which is interesting because that's kind of what you said. You figure out where you want to go. And I mean, I know you. I feel like if you want to go somewhere, you're gonna make it happen one way or another.
Well, and that's
Either
kind of
either
where,
run them over with your wheelchair, or say something or whatever. You're
yeah,
that kind of
and I
person. So
think that's partly where Rare by Design came out of too, is that because I've been very lucky and blessed with opportunities to things, I want to create those spaces so that other people don't
right.
have to do that all the time. I mean,
Yep.
I do think we should, as individuals and advocates, to do that, but at the same time, not everybody can,
Yep.
and doesn't have the way to do it. And so I feel like if I can help others feel uh, that there's a space and helping them with that confidence, then they can maybe go on and do that in their own community or in their other ways to do that. And so I love being able to give other people opportunities that they may not have had the chance to have.
Yeah. That's great. So I think the first time I didn't meet you in person, my partner and I, we drove from Austin, Minnesota, out to Sioux Falls, Minnesota last year to see your Rare by Design Film Festival. Do you want to talk maybe a little bit about what
Yeah.
that is and how that came about?
So we're always trying to, like, with the events that we're doing at Rare by Design, we're always trying to be innovative um and try to think of things that aren't happening in the Midwest, and especially here in South Dakota. And film
Hmm.
festivals are kind of around, but not, they're not like the ones in New York and
Right.
California and all those. But we really wanted to give a platform for people with disabilities and rare diseases. So the film festival is like the requirements, the criteria that we have for people who are submitting films is that either someone in front of the camera or someone behind the camera either has to have a rare disease or a disability. So someone in the production, team. We don't do a like it has to be a certain genre or anything because
Mhm.
we want everybody to just have the opportunity to create what they want. So it doesn't have to be to them talking about their disability, or it doesn't
Right.
even the topic doesn't even have to be disability. It could just be someone who writes a script, and but someone in the committee or on the production has a disability and platform. And part of the reason why we say that too is people with disabilities and rare diseases don't have that opportunity as much, and so we have a lot of talented individuals in our community, in the arts and all of that. And so we thought the film festival would be a fun, unique, innovative way to showcase films. But then on the flip side, it's also a really cool way for people who maybe aren't in the disability community to come and hear stories and see the talented, individuals we have.
Yeah. I think you said last year, I don't remember, but you guys had received a lot of submissions. Was it the same this year, or did you get like lots and
So
lots of
last
submissions?
year we got 400 plus submissions, and so not all of them were
Yep.
criteria that fit.
Yep.
And so I think last year they thought that it was free, and so they just submitted. And so
Oh,
this year we wanted to not hopefully have to go through
mhm.
400 plus, so we did charge a submission fee with $10 and things.
Sure.
So no, we did not have to go through 400 plus
Yeah,
films. So it was
that's
a little
awesome.
easier to
A little
go.
easier.
Yeah, yeah,
You're able to get sleep this year. Last year, you just had to stay awake and drink
yeah.
caffeine
I
to get
just
through them all.
go through films. Yep.
That's great. Yeah, so that's exciting. Last year, I mean, as you were talking about the different kinds, I mean, you guys picked last year for sure a wide variety of stuff. It wasn't all like
Yeah,
the same type either. It was some of it was yeah, it was quite a wide variety. It was
yeah.
interesting.
And I think also when we think about it too is it also keeps it not boring. You know what I mean? So when you're because it's not a film, it's not an all day film festival
Yep.
or anything. It's about we have the social hour and then we have about 2 hours of film. So the different lengths and the different topics and the different stories then keeps it a little more like, oh, I wonder what this
Yeah.
topic or story is going to be about. And
Yeah.
that's just like you said, that's very key, and that's what we were intentional on that.
Yeah. Wasn't there one about a scarecrow or something?
Yes, that was a
Okay.
really funny one, and the director, it was a UK one, and
Yep.
so
Oh
you
yeah.
people in the UK have really different, unique
Yep.
humor, but it
Yeah.
was good. But someone in the production who like wrote it and everything had autism,
Yeah.
so yep,
Gotcha. Then I remember another cool part was I don't know if every film had it, but I think you must have if the somebody from the film couldn't be at the event, you let them record and do like talk
yep,
a little bit. That was kind of cool where
yeah.
they could
So we
talk a
always
little.
have them because it's worldwide, obviously a lot of them are going to come.
Right.
But then we want them to send like a 1 minute, 2 minute video and just answering, why did you create this? Questions like that. And, last year, yeah, we had two individuals that were actually there in
Yeah.
person. And so that was cool. And then everybody else kind of sent the video that we
Mhm.
play after their film. And I think that also helps give a little more emphasis or a little more personal touch to the video because you get to hear from the actual person.
Yeah. It's great. Do you maybe want to talk about? I mean, there was several. I mean, at the event, there was I don't know how many people in wheelchairs, but um, there was I mean, a good number of people with wheelchairs at the event, which was really awesome. I think some of those people are they on the board or kind of help with the film
So I
festival?
had yes, so I had two people that were there are on my board.
Okay.
And then so we have a board of 8 including me. And so I have uh, a parent who has a child with a disability, and then I have two individuals that use wheelchairs, and then I have another parent that has a son with ADHD and things. And so that's part of when we do events too. We want all our events, no matter where they are, to be accessible. And so we also always have a sign language interpreter
Mhm.
at all of our events that we do, because one of the things we recognize and what I want us to kind of be known for is that even if you don't request a sign language interpreter, you know that there's going to be one at a Rare by Design event, because creating a welcoming space, again, kind of going like with the inclusion, is that they know that, oh, maybe the last minute they want to come, but they didn't say, oh, I didn't get a, sign language interpreter. They'll know we'll have one.
Yep. Right.
And that's part of it. When you have a disability, you're always like, oh, I need this or I need that. And so we really try to strive in creating the best environment we can. I mean, we'll make mistakes here and
Right.
there, like everybody, but that's something we really strive to do.
Yeah, that's great. With like the sign language interpreter, I mean, to me, that sounds like it'd be something simple everybody could add to their events to, just
I
have
think
it
a
there.
lot of it is it costs,
Okay.
so you have to add it to the budget. But the
Right.
reality is, it should be. It should just be a
Yes.
line item.
Right.
And I'm hoping with us doing that, that people see that more often
Right.
and just start adding it to the line item, because, yeah, like I said, that's what I agree with. It should just be there.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a different way of thinking. A lot of events haven't had that.
Right.
So if we could start seeing that more, or, there's now apps that,
Right.
again,
Yeah.
sadly, like everything in the world, comes down to money,
Yep.
but it's important to
For
have.
sure. And I mean, like I said, being like a parent, my daughter, she has a disability, so just going to places where they are everything is accessible is a huge difference than going to a place where it's not as accessible and or you have to like ask questions to figure out if it's accessible. I mean, just for my daughter, honestly, my daughter, she doesn't, it doesn't affect her like it does me. It's just, but we want to go to a concert and I always call ahead of time just to make sure I know like what everything is because I don't want to show up and like I don't have a chair to sit because I needed to buy another ticket or it's not always super obvious.
No.
If you're buying a seat, does that come with a companion seat or do I got to buy another seat? And then like so it's definitely a different experience because we've gone to we went to one place where it was like, I mean, super. We just pulled up. She got out. We went in. Somebody met us kind of at the door and like, hey, look, do you want me to help you get to the to your seat? Brought us right there. Made sure that took out an extra like companion seat so we could all sit together and just that little. It seems like a little thing probably to them, but I mean to us, it made it just. It's so much easier. We don't have to worry about stuff. So it's just sometimes those simple things that venues can do or event planners can do make a big difference.
And when I see stuff like that as a person, like if I get to experience that, I totally make sure like the
Right.
team or that person knows that,
Right.
because then they can tell their bosses or whatever and say like, okay, we really need to hone in on this, because they don't experience that. And that's kind of one of the things that we talk about at Rare by Design when we do events and things is, so people with disabilities and rare diseases are the largest minority group, because you can have a disability, you can have a different background, like you could be African American, a different race and stuff, but you can also be part of the LGBTQ. And so
Yeah.
the reality is, we are always, we are most often excluded. And so when we find a restaurant, when we find a concert venue, like you just talked about, when we find anything that doesn't make our disability or our uh, adaptations or our accommodations a big deal,
Mhm.
then you have like a customer for life.
Right.
Because so often we don't get that. And so the same
Right.
thing is like on TV commercials or organizations or businesses. If we see someone who looks like us and it's an authentic commercial or it's an authentic portrayal of someone with a disability, then you have that person sold or that person being a customer or I mean, and it's really simple, but people
Mhm.
don't think of that. And I think a lot of it is that stigma of that we don't have a lot of money just because of income and stuff. And that's right, we some of us are okay and some of us aren't, but the reality is if we have been respected or at a venue, then we choose where we put our money. The money that we do have, then we will spend it where we are looked
Right.
at as a true person.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I mean, I talk about the good stories and I talk about the bad stories. So I mean, if I'm not very happy about a place and I continuously spread that story, that's, I mean, some friends, some family might not go there because of how I was treated or how my daughter was treated. So I mean, it kind of goes,
Yeah,
it's those
totally.
stories
And
spread.
I think if you could do sometimes places are open
Right.
to criticism or
Yep.
criticism is a hard word, but like open to like, hey,
Yep.
we're not trying to lambaste you or anything,
Right.
but the
Yep.
reality is this didn't work. And so if you do that and it's isn't better, okay, then you
Yeah.
definitely don't go back. But the reality is sometimes you have to realize
Yeah.
the moving parts, but also that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely.
But I think it's very key to share that because yeah, I mean, I get that it's like, well, I'm not going back there again.
Yeah.
And then it's because sometimes you'll have a friend to be like, "What's that? Were you able to get your wheelchair?" And they'll be like, "Nope." And then they don't go there. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, and then another time when we came out to Sioux Falls, we met you and Jason Freeman and your mom, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, for supper. And I remember that restaurant, like the handicap spots were super far away from the door. So like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, and I noticed this stuff because my daughter has a wheelchair. So I'm like,
Yep.
we're waiting for you to get there, and it's like there's like no spots even close to this door. Like
Yeah.
then we all had to like wait outside to get in, and it's like there's just people everywhere. So then you're trying to navigate. It's just
Yep.
so yeah, you see the little things where it's like, yep, where they
Yeah.
parked? They parked like 3 miles that way, and they're walking back to us.
Yeah. And I think you do the best as you
Yeah,
can, but at the same time, yeah, and especially if it's a bad day where you just hit a barrier, you hit a barrier, you hit a
yeah,
barrier, and then yeah, the restaurant might get a little like, okay, you are getting the brunt of this because
yeah,
this is the third barrier I've had to deal with and things like that.
yeah,
So,
for sure. Yeah,
and I think that's where the advocacy comes into play. There's a lot of times that people just jump on the internet and like post bad things and or not bad things,
yeah,
but make bad comments and stuff. And
yep,
I understand frustration and things like that. And I have done that, but I don't I try to always do it in a
right,
nice way in an educational
right,
like did you know that this doesn't work for someone like myself
yeah, yeah, for sure. What other types of events does Rare by Design do?
So we do an annual fundraiser, which is it's called the Style Show, a runway to empower. And so um, I like fashion, and um, there's a venue. There's that fashion you don't typically see people with disabilities
Hmm.
or rare diseases in, on the Instagram wearing those clothes or
Yep.
on the runways and things. And so it's a fundraiser, but what we're really trying to showcase is what true diversity looks like here. And so we have models who have disabilities and rare diseases. We have models that don't have disabilities and rare diseases. We have all ages. We have all sizes. We have people from the LGBTQ community. We have people who are different nationalities, different races, and things, because that's what true diversity is. And part of it is when you say the word diversity, um, people with disabilities and rare diseases are not often thought about in that conversation.
For
And so
yeah.
we really try to kind of bring that into that aspect, like, because, like, what I said is people with disabilities and rare diseases are the largest minority group.
Right.
And it's the group that anybody can join at any
Yeah.
time. You don't have to
Right.
be born into it. You can have an accident, a car accident, and now you're in a wheelchair. You could have a stroke, or and the other thing is, like, if you're lucky enough to live long enough,
Yeah.
you will have a disability at some point. You might not think of it as a disability because a
Right.
lot of us is like, oh, that's aging, but a disability is losing your hearing, eyesight, and things like that, needing a cane when you have
Mhm.
arthritis and stuff like that. And so that is a disability. It's just a different disability that you gain in older age and things. And so if we
Yeah.
can kind of help people realize that disability is a natural part of life for many of us, other when we're not born into it in younger
Hmm.
years or have an accident at a young age, that you will have a disability at some point. So if we can design buildings, housing,
Hmm.
parks, curb cuts, if we can design with that in mind, then you don't have to move out of a house because you're
Yeah.
older now. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point to bring up, which I talk about too. And it's just, I feel like we need to kind of, like you and I are doing and talking about disability and not just, shying away from it. Cause I mean, people need to realize that people with disabilities can live a full life and, show people what it can be. I think there's still a lot of people are scared or stigma
yeah,
around it that needs to be talked about. And, cause
and
yeah,
say the
that is
word.
true. I don't remember this stat, but if you live to like, just the average life expectancy, it's a pretty high number. You could be disabled. If you live like another 10 years, it gets way higher. And if you live to like 90, it's almost guaranteed you're going to
Yeah,
have some form of a disability and or need assistance doing something in your life before you die. So it's all of us will be at some point.
yeah, and I think I would say you don't want to like scare people, but the
Yeah.
reality is disability isn't a bad thing. There's
No.
things that come with it,
Yep.
but it's a societal thing that
Yeah.
why it's bad or why it's
Yeah.
scary. And so I really say, and a lot of people in the disability world, advocates, say the word disability. It's not a
Right.
bad word.
Right.
It, you know, I'm not. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of special needs, but everybody has
Right.
what they're comfortable with. So, like, say the word disability.
Yeah. That's great. What is one thing that you can, one tip you can share with our listeners today to be more inclusive? So just one thing anybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
I would say if you're like in your work environment, or if you're on a board, or if you're on a committee, or any of that events type things, think about why. Like, is there someone there at that table who has the voice of someone with a disability or rare disease? And if there's not, be an advocate in trying to um, share that you feel like that should be at that table. There are many aspects, community events, things like that, and just trying to get that voice, that perspective
Yeah,
there.
that's great. Where's the best place everybody can connect with you?
So you can connect with me at kendragottsleben.com. kevingottsleben.com. That's my personal website and
Yep.
information. But then you can also reach out via rarebydesign.org.
Okay.
You can look at the things that we're doing there. So social media. If you go to both websites, you'll find my Instagram, Facebook, our
Sure.
Facebook, and stuff like that. And I'm pretty responsive, so
Yeah.
but yeah, so we're
Is there
excited.
still tickets left for the film
Yeah,
festival?
so we
Okay.
are like we were talking about. We did it last year. We're doing it again this year, so it'll be September 18th here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, down at the Sioux Falls State Theater, and there's still tickets
That's cool.
available, and those are on our website. But if you go to our Facebook page and things, um, it's there too, and we're excited because you are a sponsor for this year's event, and we're so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you so much for reaching out and asking me to be a sponsor. It's my pleasure.
well, and that's one of the things that we, always enjoy. So,
Yeah. Awesome. You ready for the last question?
yes,
Do you like spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
yes,
Yes. Did you know that question was coming?
I didn't until you hold it, and then I was like, oh wait.
Yeah, I've been asking all my guests that because obviously I live in Austin, Minnesota now, where they make spam and where the spam museum is. So I ask all my guests that.
Yes, it's appropriate. It's so
Yeah, yeah.
appropriate.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yes, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you at the film festival.
Absolutely. To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episode. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.